What is up, guys? How's it going? My name is Jackal, and here we are. Just finished through A Link to the Past. Oh, I did last night, and now we're here to talk about it. Cause like I did with the well, at very least, with the other game, we have to compare it. We have to compare how we feel after now as a 33-year-old adult. Well, 32. I'm going to be 33 in a couple months. But we got to talk about how this game made us feel. And honestly, let's see, let's pull up. When I really think about it, like when I for real, really think about this, what the question is really how much at this stage in my life does difficulty matter for at very least these two first games, because later Zeldas might have a challenging aspect, be parts of their puzzles. Maybe not for me because I've already beaten most of the Zelda games at least once in the past. But at least with these early games where, like, I don't know, man, back in these old games, difficulty was like part of the prize that you were going for. And that difficulty and that struggle really makes the Adventure of Link stand out to me. Most people hate it. I get why. I get, the black sheepness of the game. I get, the fact that it's a different setup. It doesn't even have dungeon maps in it like the rest of the games do. But there's something about its 2D action-ness that just hit a soft spot for me. I love it. But at the same time, A Link to the Past brought in a lot of stuff, that I did love. It brought in, compared to the 2D side scroller, it brought back, the traditional dungeon setup from the first one. And then it also introduced us for the first time to us having like proper dungeon theming, like proper, especially in the Dark World where, you got even though the Palace of Darkness didn't really look like it was all that dark, you still got, you got your water temple, which is just, a whole bunch of waterways and like sewage shit. You got the one that's in the forest. You have one in a swamp. You have one that's like a cave in Turtle Rock. Like, you get all of these different themes that I do know in Link's Awakening become a little bit better. But this is, this is the first time that, other than a literal color scheme, that the Zelda dungeons are distinguishable from themselves. In the original ones, you go by what the color of the fucking dungeon is. The very first dungeon in the first one, Eagle, it's the blue dungeon. Moon, it's the like dark blue, like indigo-ish kind of looking dungeon. Manji is the green. What's the next one? Lizard, or is it dragon? I can't remember what the fourth dungeon is called. But that one is like gold colored. So, and in the second dungeon, or in the second Zelda, you got, the first dungeon is the white one. The second one is like the dark blue one. The third one is like magenta. All of them have just different color schemes. So, to see some actual dungeon theming makes it visually much more pleasing to go through the game. But, that's all aesthetics. And though it is cool, and especially with, newer Zeldas like Breath of the Wild, that dungeon theming is actually important. Because, dungeons are a big reason why I love Zelda games. And a big reason why I play them. So, it's just a matter of trying to... It's just trying to figure out where I want to put this. Because this game was not nearly as difficult as Let's get some music playing, because I don't want to just have this be the sound of my voice. Yeah, this game is not nearly as hard as I remember it being. I mean, I only died once, and I died to a fucking Hinox. Like, that's what I died to. Yeah, 19. I think that must have been 19 saves. Yeah, because I made like 19 videos out of this, so that makes sense. But I only died once, and I died to some random Hinox just because I just wasn't paying attention, and I let him hit me twice. And I think they do like 3, 4 hearts of damage in like your base, in your original male that hasn't had any defensive upgrades. But that only dying once. Now, to be fair, there's going to be a lot of not A Link to the Past. A Link to the Past is, I believe, a little bit harder. But as far as like future Zelda games go, like bruh, like Ocarina of Time is never gonna kill me. Majora's Mask is never gonna kill me. Oracle of Seasons and Ages might. Actually, they probably will. But most of those other Zeldas are just not hard enough. And difficulty really is a different setter in these early Zelda games, to where I do think that I'm going to have to go and I think what we're going to do is we are going to put this is the new second place game. You are third. Second place game is the third title, Link to the Past. I think at this point in my life, I like the Adventure of Link, just a smidge more. And I wouldn't say that I like it more as a Zelda game. If I'm going to look at it as a Zelda game, obviously A Link to the Past is on top of these original three. That's not even close. But if I'm also trying to look at it not just as a Zelda game, but excuse me, but as an overall gaming experience. And as an overall gaming experience, I feel excuse me, I feel like A Link to the Past just does it for me a little bit more, just because of how much I enjoy the gameplay loop of that game. Most people, if you're asking me what do I think is a better game, I'm going to obviously put A Link to the Past over The Adventure of Link, and I wouldn't even claim to make it close. But there is just something about The Adventure of Link that I've always loved. That palace theme, the Grand Palace at the very end, my favorite ending theme or like final dungeon music in any Zelda game that I know of. Especially because later Zeldas don't make their final dungeons like epic. They make them like kind of like somber, creepy places. In my head, I instantly think of the end of Wind Waker, where it's just like dark, dingy halls, walking up to Ganon's, place of residency, or however the fuck you want to say that. But that with Zelda 2, I just feel like there's much more reward for me for having bested it and beaten it, even now that I'm older and the game is much easier than what it was when I was younger, and easier than how most people are going to view it. Yeah, I'm trying to think of if anything else. I mean, I definitely don't think I'd want Zelda to have continued going the 2D side scroller route at all. It is definitely, I look at the side scroller RPG nature of Zelda 2. I kind of look at it the way that I look at like in Phantom Hourglass's The Temple of the Ocean King, or Skyward Sword's motion controls. I view them as things that I enjoy and I like about those games, but I enjoy them once. I'm definitely glad that Zelda went the route of A Link to the Past. I'm definitely glad that this is the route they chose to go. But at the same time, hold on one sec. All right, sorry about that. But no, oh, I got lost, full track lost in my train of thoughts of what I was going to say before I had to push pause. Ooh, excuse me. Um, oh yeah. I'm definitely glad that the path that they went for the Zelda games was A Link to the Past. But, there's just something about the Adventure of Link that does it for me. There's a good bit of it that probably is nostalgia. Like, I'm not gonna lie and say that, like, nostalgia from, my childhood has no bearing on how much I love the Adventure of Link. But, you know, like I said, this is a viewing of how much I enjoyed my experience replaying through these games. And it's not like, this is my favorite franchise. It's not like I disliked playing A Link to the Past. It's not like I disliked playing the original Zelda. I loved playing through both of those games. It's just that as a general video game experience, I think the difficulty of the Adventure of Link makes it a little closer to what I'm looking for and what makes me feel more rewarded now that I've beaten it. Now, there's plenty of people who are probably not super great at like top-down Zelda games that may in fact find that A Link to the Past is much harder, especially to figure out where to go and do puzzles. Maybe not figure out where to go because Adventure of Link is still kind of cryptic. But at very least, like this game actually has the inclusion of like actual puzzles. So there are some people that may actually find A Link to the Past to be more difficult. It's just that the Adventure of Link is much more punishing when you mess up with its game over system. Which, if somebody were to tell me that, then I would say that they're correct. Like, I get it. Like I said, this is just for me and how I'm trying to see how, after all this, does it stack up. Especially because, realistically, I don't think I'm going to be playing A Link to the Past. Maybe I'll try to play it sometime around the new year. Maybe that'll be the goal around New Year's time. Will be to play it again. Especially because I will have finished with peak season at UPS for the next year. So I'll have like a little more time to like unwind because I'm still going to be gaming even though I have I'll be doing peak season stuff. It's going to be a lot more fucking probably a lot shorter videos, and not a lot shorter, like instead of 30 minutes closer to 20. But yeah, I might aim to play Link's Awakening after the new year. That sounds like a good time. I have other stuff that I want to play. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I just wanted to have a little reflection, a little bit of me time now that A Link to the Past is done. And like I said, this game means a lot to me. This game is one of the games that, the original 3 Zeldas were games that I spent most of my childhood either playing or watching be played. I've made it no secret that my love of these video games came from because I was raised by my grandparents, comes from my grandmother and my great grandfather. My grandfather's the one who raised me, his father. The two of them I used to watch play all of these old nerdy games, which is where I got my love of them. Like I didn't come up with that out of my own. I inherited a lot of my nerdy loves from my family. But one of my earliest memories is of sitting on the couch in our old house, and I still have this memory. I was like 3 years old. I remember sitting on the couch watching one of my grandparents, I don't remember which one, play through The Adventure of Link, and I remember sitting on the couch with apple slices and a little tub of caramel and just sat there dunking it and eating it and watching Zelda. Like, that is one of my absolute earliest memories in life in general. And it's like, that's how much these games mean to me. Not just the early Zeldas, but the franchise. Because, these are parts of the reason why, I like the things that I do and I play the games that I do is because of all this early exposure. My great-grandfather, the one who is the inspiration behind this channel, he, when Ocarina of Time came out, that was, and only because I remember like looking it up somewhat recently. I think it was actually for one of the Zelda videos. Um, that game came out in like November 20 something, I think, end of November of 1998. And I remember getting that launch day. I remember being on the phone with my great grandfather because I had played it. I had walked around. I found the Kokiri sword, and he couldn't find it. And I remember talking over the phone with him, talking about where the location of the sword was. And I don't think he even beat the second dungeon of the game. I think he was just getting lost in the game and exploring. But I remember, you know, I remember having these conversations with him, and like I said, that was at the end of November, and then December 14th, not even a month later, my grandfather passed away. And, Ocarina of Time had been the game that he had just gotten, had been the game that he had been looking forward to playing and beating and never got to do it. And, the man was so into his video games that when we buried him, one, my grandfather was not buried in a suit, which pissed the undertakers off to no end. Because my grandfather wanted to be buried the way that he lived, which was, well, not necessarily. He mostly lived in his boxers and a t-shirt because he was an old Mexican man and he didn't give a fuck. But, they had him dressed up in what we'll call, because his name was Leopoldo, and, or Polo. And we called it Polo Casual. And that was, him, he was buried in khakis and a button-up. And that's it. And he had a pocket protector, and we had wedged his copy of Ocarina of Time in his pocket, and then we had buried him with in his hands, instead of his hands being clasped over his stomach, we had him holding an N64 controller. Because, that's really what kind of guy he was. And, you can see where I get it from. Not all of these games that I play are games that he played, but it's games that I feel like are inspired by the things that he would play. I don't know if he would have played fucking Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku for the GBA, but it's a top-down action adventure game that's definitely up his alley. But that is it for this video, guys. I will be hey, get out of here. I will be back in not too much longer, and we're going to be recording some Advanced Wars. So I'll see y'all then. Peace.